Warning, the following podcast has been classified as insanely lucrative. Listener discretion is advised.
Now, if you have specific keywords, let's say you've maxed those out, right? You got 2,000 or two fields that are just awesome, and those are ranking, and the other ones aren't. I would probably then go in and...
Your attention, please. Listening to the AM/PM podcast may cause recurring revenue streams and unfair advantages over your competitors. Other side effects may include fatter wallets, fired bosses, and longer vacations. Listen at your own risk. Here's your host, seven-figure entrepreneur and online marketing madman, Manny Coates. Manny Coates.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the AM/PM podcast. My name is Manny Coates, and I will be your host, and this is the show where we discuss how to generate recurring revenue streams 24 hours per day during the AM and the PM, hence the name of the show. As a matter of fact, I have spent pretty much most of today answering questions after posting a specific podcast episode number 50. A lot of people had questions about that. And while answering all these questions, that's pretty much what I was doing, I was making money. How cool is that? Pretty cool, I think. So this is Thursday Q&A, or Q&A Thursday, depending on if you're dyslexic or not. And we did this episode prior to posting episode number 50. Okay, so one of the questions that had come in was regarding the back-end keyword search terms. And there was something that came up almost exactly at the same time. It came out, the issue and the data that we had all came to fruition essentially right after we had already recorded this Q&A. So we ended up pushing our normal episode on Tuesday to next week. That's my earnings episode where I'm going to be talking about the entire month. The earnings for the month and the breakdown of profits and everything. So that got pushed till next Tuesday. And instead we did an episode number 50, where we go into how Amazon has essentially allowed you to put 5,000 characters on the back end, but you really can't get all 5,000 characters indexed, at least not very easily. So you're going to hear one of the questions that's related to that, and you might be wondering, well, why is he going over this information if he already talked about it in the previous episode number 50? And that's the reason. They're a little bit out of order, so I'm just adding this intro at the start. But anyways, let's get back to the recording of the Q&A. Here we go. Hello, Guy. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, Manny. How are you?
I'm doing great. Just got back from Las Vegas. Had a birthday celebration. It's kind of interesting, right? I go away for a vacation, so to speak, and I come back more tired than when I left.
Isn't that always true, man?
It is, right?
It always happens.
We're dying to leave on a vacation, and then as soon as we land and we get home, we're like, oh, it's so good to be home. Do you ever do that?
You have to come home and have a couple of days to rest from the vacation.
That's right.
Yeah, that's always true. But at least you have the luxury of going on vacation. You don't get the luxury of resting from your vacation. You have to work, man.
I know. You know what? Always hustling, always grinding. Got to make 2016 count.
That's true.
All right. So today, as everybody knows, is Thursday Q&A. And if you're the first-time listener, we have 2 questions from the audience, and then we have 2 questions for Guy from Manny. That would be me. So, are we ready to get started, Guy?
Let's do this.
All right. Okay. If you could exchange one of your kids for the best pizza you've ever had in your life, would you want that pizza thin crust or thick crust?
Oh my gosh. You and your questions, man. This is an obvious answer. Thin crust.
Thin crust. That's it. No explanation.
No explanation, man.
All right, fine.
Let's just move on to the content.
All right. First question, Guy. Hit me.
This one comes from the FBA High Rollers Facebook group from Ryan. And he mentions that as of right now, for one of his target keywords, he can see his sponsored ad as number 1, a competitor's ad on the number 2 spot, and his product ranking number 1 for the organic results. So the question is, does organically ranking number 1 for a keyword warrant stopping the PPC for that keyword? Or should you keep running PPC since it will keep me at the actual top of the page.
Okay. That's a good question. So let's repeat everything here. So he's ranking number 1 organically for a particular keyword, but he's still running sponsored ads, pay-per-click through Amazon. And he's got his ad plus a competitor's ad that's showing up there.
Right.
Okay. I guess depends on who you talk to as to the type of answer you're going to get. And I would look at different variables as well. Personally, I'm going to look at my ACoS, all right, my advertising cost for each sale on that particular keyword. And if it's not completely crazy, and I'm going to divide this into all of my sales, okay, organically and not just a pay-per-click cost. So let me give you an example. Let me back up a little bit. If my ACoS is 100%, which is terrible, right, on that particular keyword, but it's generating enough sales to keep me in that number 1 spot. And if I divide that ACoS into my overall total sales, okay, organically and pay-per-click, and it's really low, let's say it's like 5% of my total sales volume, then I would keep it running because it's helping me there. Now, if I remove my pay-per-click and I notice that I start falling, then for sure, absolutely, I'd keep it running. But I would probably experiment as well, Guy. I'd probably say, you know what? If I'm number 1, and maybe I'm number 1 for a reason, right? Maybe everything is just awesome. My images are awesome. The main keywords that I have are just, they're set up perfectly. I might not need to advertise, even if my competitors are advertising at the top, right? It's showing their ad and then it's showing my ad organically. I might find that my sales remain the same essentially, and they don't actually trump me. They don't move up because they're just not pulling the sales. They might be getting the clicks into their product, but they are not getting the sales because my product's so awesome. But chances are, if I'm doing this and I see this, I'm going to want my product up there at the top just so that the user has an option to click into mine versus my competitors if they're also advertising up there.
Yeah, I think if it's not costing you a lot of money, you should keep that number 1 sponsor spot just because that's blocking a competitor from getting that spot. It's similar to on AdWords, bidding on your own domain name. You want to do it just so you appear number 1 and you use that spot from somebody else's ad. So I'm inclined to say keep it unless it's costing you a lot of money.
Yeah, you can experiment. You can test. I mean, you might find that the sales that you're generating from that pay-per-click ad are just enough to put you over that, just over the edge there in terms of keeping your BSR high enough that you're ranking number 1. And if you remove that, you might fall to number 2. And if you're now a number 2, people are clicking on that number 1 spot more often, right? And then that means you're going to fall even more because you're losing sales there. Now you're going to be number 3. And it could be kind of like a cascading effect. I don't know if that's the right term, but you're just going to keep falling down that list. And eventually you fall off the first page. And then at that point, it's all downhill.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that answers that question.
Hope so. And we have another question. Oh.
Ha-ha!
I caught myself.
You caught yourself. See, you know the rules. So the rule is that Guy gets his question now. Question from Manny. Guy,
what's up?
Are you ready for your second and final question of the day?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Choose one, Guy. Eat a full barbecued rat, tail and all, or lose the ability to speak for 3 months.
Wow.
And by the way, guys, in case you're wondering why he's even contemplating this, it's because Guy is terrified of rats. He hates them. They disgust him. And if you ever wanted to see a man jump up on a chair, just have a little bitty mouse running across the floor, and he'll scream in a high-pitched voice and jump up on a chair.
No, I won't. You've never seen it happen, but yeah, dude, it's gross. Moving on. I'm not answering that question.
Which one is it going to be? You're going to eat the full barbecued rat, tail and all. It's not seasoned with barbecue. It's just barbecued. Okay? Or lose the ability to speak for 3 months.
I'm going to picture this as a healthy camp rat, and I will grill it and season it so I can continue talking, but I'm so glad this is hypothetical, man.
All right. So you're eating the rat.
Yeah. Not happily, though.
All right, Guy. Let's move on.
Yeah. So this one is actually a question that came in through our Helium 10 support desk. And they ask about the 5K checker tool. And it says, I found 2 fields which are not ranking from my backend search terms. what should I do with those keywords to get them to rank?
Okay, that's a great question. All right, so let's back up a little bit on this as well. Just in case you're not familiar, most categories now allow 5,000 characters on your backend search terms. So when you go into your Seller Central account and you're editing your product, you have 5 fields there that you can enter keywords on the back end, right? And each one of those fields now is 1,000 characters. Again, for most categories. I think gourmet, or maybe there's some categories where you don't quite have 1,000 characters per field. So with 5 fields, that's 5,000 characters. Now he's got 2 of those 5 fields that are ranking. Okay. Is that right so far, Guy?
Yes.
And he wants to find out, if specific things aren't ranking, how can you fix this? Well, one of the things that we've noticed is that Amazon, once you go over about 2,000 characters, sometimes somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500 characters, it just does not like to rank too many more keywords, no matter how relevant. Okay, so if you keep it under 2,000 characters, you can get just about anything to index to rank in that backend search term. Now, if you have specific keywords, let's say you've maxed those out, right? You got 2,000 or 2 fields that are just awesome, and those are ranking, and the other ones aren't. I would probably then go in and take the remaining keywords that you have, let's just say it's 3,000 characters of words that are not ranking or that you want to get ranked. And I would clean them up. I would go through, find out the ones that really matter, and then narrow it down and get very focused. And then I would take those keywords and I would start peppering them throughout your listing on the front end, because you're already doing the back end now. So I would go in and I would put, if they're really good, maybe in the title, but most likely it's going to be in your bullet points and then also in your description. Okay. And you can even put them in some of the fields on the back end as well that will rank. Like you can have a part number or a manufacturer number or something like that. Those will rank as well. I think subject matter will also rank. But anyways, I would put them most likely in the front end, and you should be okay. You should start ranking for those things. Now, to check, he had mentioned the 5K checker, so I guess we should talk about that. That's a Helium 10 tool, okay, helium10.com. It's one of the tools that we've created. And essentially, you don't need to use this to check your rank. You can do it manually. And I did a video and posted it on our Facebook group on how to actually do this for free. But it just takes a long time, right? If you want to check all your keyword fields on the back end, it's probably going to take you the whole day, half a day to the full day just to do it. Because the way to do it is you take your ASIN, you go to Amazon search their product page, and you, under the search field, you would put your ASIN, and then you would put a space, and then you'd put the keyword, one keyword, and you do a search, and you would see if you're actually indexed, if you're coming up. It'll show at the top. Everything will be in orange. Again, we did a video on this. I'm not going to go into all the details of it. You can go into our Facebook group and check that out. That's at Amazon FBA High Rollers on Facebook. And you can also join from our Facebook link on our ampmpodcast.com website. But that's the manual way of doing that. So you do one keyword, then you go and repeat the process and do it with a second keyword and the third. And you can imagine, right, if you've got 1,000 keywords on the back end, 1,000 out of your 5,000 characters, that's going to take a while to do 1,000 searches. So 5K checker will automate this for you. It goes through and it does it very quickly. And it'll tell you what's indexed and what's not indexed. So to finish off my thought process on this, once you've peppered all these extra keywords on your front end through your descriptions and your bullets, then wait a little bit, wait 30 minutes, wait an hour, and then go back in and you can actually take those keywords that you peppered out through a front end and stick those in there and see if you're ranking for them. And you'll be surprised, hopefully a good number of those are ranking. And if they're still not ranking, you might have to move them around to some other place. There's different things you can do to try to get them to rank. And on occasion, you just can't get something to rank. It just happens. It's happened to me where just specific keywords, Amazon just won't rank. Guy, any thoughts on this?
No, I think you've covered it, Manny. If you have trouble getting something to rank, you have to kind of weigh out if that particular keyword is worth your time and effort to get it to rank, or if you should look for other keywords that can make up the lost ranking, So it's all a balancing act. If you have a keyword that is just not ranking, you have to figure out if it's worth your time to put it in the title, description, move it around, or whether that time would be better spent either ranking other keywords or sourcing other products. Don't over obsess about one specific keyword not ranking. Look at the big picture.
Yeah. And that's a good point. And just to elaborate on that a little bit, if you have 2,000 characters that are ranking really well and you want to get more, hopefully the 2,000 characters that are ranking, since they're your first 2 fields, were your most important keywords. I usually list things by importance. My important stuff, My very most important word is the first word in the first field. And then the second most important word is the second word in that field, and so on. So I'm assuming that that's the case. But if it's not, if you just kind of got, just mixed everything up and you've got a lot of really non-important words that are ranking inside your first 2,000 characters, consider going in and deleting some of those and then adding more relevant, more important stuff, and concentrate and focus on 2,000 characters and not on 5,000. If you eliminate the other 3,000, you just have those 2,000 in there, and then you do use 5K checker, or you check it manually yourself if you've got the time, you'll probably find that you're ranking for the majority of those keywords. And then you'll have all the good ones in there.
Yeah, it's like the 80-20 rule, right? 20% of the keywords are going to produce 80% of the results.
Yep.
So focus on those.
Absolutely. Cool. That's it, right, Guy?
That's all we have.
Well, that was a good one. We had 2 great questions. Thank you for submitting those. And guys, if you have your own questions you'd like to submit, we'd love to hear them. And I say here because we have a voicemail system on our website that you can go to. So go to ampmpodcast.com, and over on the right-hand side is a Ask Manny questions, and you can leave me a voice message. Make sure you leave your name, and we'll try to include that on an upcoming Q&A. And again, if we mentioned the Facebook group, join us there at FBA High Rollers. We'd love to see you in there. We've got, about 3,500 members now, Guy? It's growing on a regular basis. Yeah,
it's growing fast. And we'd love to have you guys.
Cool. So anything else, Guy, before we sign off?
No, sir.
All right.
I think we'll wrap it up, and we'll see you guys next week.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
You've been listening to the AM/PM podcast hosted by Manny Coates. For more information, insider tools, and to get the resources mentioned in this episode, visit ampmpodcast.com.